Court's back in session and calls number 306706. Case is styled State of Texas versus Jed Ozio. Jed Ozio is appearing via Zoom. Jed Ozio previously entered a plea of guilty to the charge of theft that is in the information. Jed Ozio is represented by attorney John West, who have waived the record in Mr. Ozio's case. Mr. Ozio acknowledged that his signature and initials was on state's exhibit number 1. He also acknowledged that his signatures was on the trial court certification, the defendant's right of appeal, and the discovery certification. Mr. West acknowledged that there is no evidence to suggest that Mr. Ozio is mentally incompetent to stand trial. And Mr. Ozio stated that he was satisfied with the representation of Mr. West, and Mr. West provided full, effective, and competent legal representation. The court accepted Mr. Ozio's plea of guilty. The court found that he was mentally competent to stand trial. The court also found that his pleas and waivers was freely and voluntarily given. And the court also found that there is sufficient evidence to find his guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, would you, do we have an offer in this case?
We do, Your
Honor. What is that offer?
The state's recommending in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 30 days, Judge, and that he get credit for any time he's legally entitled to, and that will run concurrent with the companion case appearing in cause number 328872, the failed ID case, and the state in exchange for the defendant's forfeiture of the weapon in cause number 328874, the UCW case, we will be dismissing that case as part of the defendant's plea.
Mr. Ozio, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail. You will be given credit for any time that you are entitled to get by law. The court cost in this case is $402. Mr. Ozio, will you be able to pay the court cost of $402?
No, sir, I don't have any money at the time.
Okay, so Mr. Ozio, I just need to ask you a couple of questions. Mr. Ozio, do you have any form of income?
No, sir, not at the time. I live in Colorado. I was extradited here from Colorado.
Okay. So, and currently you do not have any expenses as well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Ozio, the court, let me ask you this here. Have you received any type of governmental benefits?
No, sir, I haven't.
Okay. So, Mr. Ozio, the court is going to find that you are indigent based on the finding that indigent pursuant to Article 42.15 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. The court costs in this case of $402 will be waived. And because the court has found that you are indigent. Now, Mr. Ozio, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir, I do.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, Mr. Ozio, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Ozio, also failed to mention that this case will run concurrent with cause number 328872 and cause number and the state will dismiss cause number 328874 for forfeiture of the weapon. Now, Mr. Ozio, we will move to your next case, and your next case is cause number 328872. And Mr. Ozio, in this case, I have before me an information that alleges that on or about December 11th of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense, the Class A misdemeanor offense of failure to identify a fugitive from justice. Mr. Ozio, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir, I do.
And to this charge, Mr. Ozio, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest?
Guilty.
Now, you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir, I do.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, Mr. Ozio, I also have before me a document that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishment, is also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1 and cause number 328872. And on this document, Mr. Ozio, on page 2, there's a set of initials on a line next to a box that said guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir, I did.
There's a signature on page 3 of this same document. Mr. Ozio, did you also sign this document?
Yes, sir.
On the next page is on the next page of, or the next document, Mr. Ozio, which is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, there's a signature also at the bottom of this document. And did you sign this document?
Yes, sir, I did.
At the top of this same document, there are 2 boxes that are checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Mr. Ozio, did you sign a document out there on paper that is titled Discovery Certification?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Ozio, prior to signing and initialing all of these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the
Yes, sir.
best of your State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Coleman, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. You like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1?
Yes, Judge. State offer State's 1.
Any objections, Mr. West?
No objection.
No objections. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. West, you advising counsel, Mr. Ozio, in this case, is there any evidence that he's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Ozio, your attorney, Mr. West, has advised and counseled you in this case as well. Are you satisfied with his representation in this case?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Ozio, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea of waivers was plea involuntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is the agreement?
In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty in this case, the state's recommending confinement in the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 30 days. We're asking that he be given credit for any time that he's legally entitled to. And we're also asking that the time in this case run concurrent with the companion case appearing in cause number 306706, the theft case. And we are dismissing the UCW case appearing in cause number 328874 in consideration for the defendant's forfeiture of the weapon in that case.
Okay, Mr. Ozio, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, well, you will be given credit for any time that you've already served in the Jefferson County Jail. The court cost in this case is $327, but you will not have to pay the $327 because the court is going to find that you're indigent pursuant to Article 42.15, and the court cost will be waived. Cause number 306706 will run concurrent with this case, and the state will be dismissing cause number 328874 for forfeiture of the weapon. Mr. Ozio, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, Mr. Ozio, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Ozio, the next case is cause number 328874. In this case, there's information in this case, unlawfully carrying a weapon. And hold on a minute. Mr. Ozio, in this case, the state has filed the motion to forfeit your weapon in this case. Mr. Ozio, did you, in this case, the case is styled State of Texas versus Chad Ozio, and you're charged with unlawfully carrying a weapon while engaging in criminal activity. Now, Mr. Ozio, the state is filing a motion to forfeit the weapon the weapon in this case. Mr. Ozio, Did your attorney go over that motion to forfeit the weapon with you?
Yes, sir, I did.
And did you read it? Understand everything that you know?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in that document true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Ozio, and did you sign that document?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Now, Mr. Ozio, the court is going to grant the motion to forfeit the weapon to the Needham Police Department. And the state, your additional motion is to dismiss this case. Is that correct? Pursuant to the forfeit?
Yes, sir.
That's correct, Judge.
Okay, so Mr. Ozio, this case will be dismissed pursuant to you forfeiting the weapon in this case, which is cause number 328874. Now, Mr. Ozio, this will conclude your cases. Just follow the bailiff. You'll be free go, and you have a blessed day.
You too. Bless you, sir.
Okay. We have next. It's that was I've already did Ozio. Just who have next?
Who do I have next?
I don't know.
If you wanted to see if they pull, because if not.
Washington.
Okay, who we have next?
Hilton, Washington.
Washington?
How you doing, sir?
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, the court is in session in cause number. I need to get that answer. And in cause number 325334, case is style of state of Texas versus Hilton, Washington. Mr. Washington, is that your full name?
Romeo is my middle name. Romel.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Washington, would you please raise your right hand?
Yes,
Mr. Washington, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
yes, sir.
Mr. Washington, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Washington?
I'm doing okay.
That's good. Mr. Washington, you're represented in this case by your attorney, John West. Attorney West, do you waive a record in Mr. Washington's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Washington, I have before me a motion to revoke your probation that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office on June 26th of 2020. In this motion, the state alleges that you, Hilton Washington, was tried on February 4th of 2020, and you was found guilty for the offense of possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 2A. Your punishment was assessed at 90 days confinement in Jefferson County Jail and a fine of $500. The confinement was probated for a period of 18 months. And in this motion, there are two allegations. The first allegation alleges that you, Hilton Washington, failed to report to the Jefferson County Probation Office as ordered by the court the months of February, March, April, May, June 2020 as directed in violation of condition number 4 of your probation order. Is that true or not true?
True.
And allegation number 2 alleges that you failed to pay court assessed fees as ordered by the court, and as of June 17, 2020, you were $540 in arrears in violation of condition 8 of your probation order. Is that true or not true?
True.
Now, Mr. Washington,
Yes,
are you pleading true to these allegations freely and voluntarily? Are you pleading true?
yes,
to these
yes,
and are you pleading true because they are true?
yes.
Okay, Mr. Washington. I also have before me a document that is titled misdemeanor plea admonishment, which is labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. On page 1 of this document, there's one box that's checked, and it's checked MTRP, which means motion to revoke probation. On page 2 of this document, there's a set of initials, HW, on the line next to a box that's checked MTRP, which means motion to revoke probation, true to allegations 1 and 2. Mr. Washington, did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On the next page of the same document, Mr. Washington, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Mr. Washington, did you also sign this same document?
Yes, sir.
And on the next document, which is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, Mr. Washington, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant on this document as well. Did you also sign this document?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Washington, there are 2 boxes that are also checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
And the second box states that you're waiving your right to appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna need an affidavit. And Mr. Washington, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Washington, well, before you signed and initialed these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
State. I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. State, you like to offer State's 1?
Yes, Judge. State offer states 1.
No objection.
No objection. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. West, you've advised and counseled Mr. Washington. Is there any evidence that he's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Washington, your attorney, Mr. West, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Have you provided?
Yeah, has he provided effective representation?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Mr. Washington, I will accept your plea of true to allegations 1 and 2. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers was freely and voluntarily given. I also find that there is sufficient evidence to revoke your probation, and your probation is hereby revoked. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
In exchange for the defendant's plea of true to the allegations in this motion to revoke probation in this case, the state's recommending that the court revoke the defendant's community supervision, reform the original judgment in order that he be confined to the Jefferson County Jail for a period of 30 days. We are asking that he be given credit for any time that he's entitled to. And I think that's all, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Washington, the state is offering that you serve 30 days. Okay, yeah, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail. You'll be given credit for any time that you are entitled to get by law. The court cost in this case, Mr. Washington, is $117. Mr. Washington, will you be able to pay the $117?
Yes, sir.
You will? Okay,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Washington, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir. But could I do weekends?
No, well, that wasn't part of the plea bargain.
Okay. I understand.
And do you think that the state's offer is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Washington, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Washington, this will conclude your case. Please follow the bailiff, and you have a blessed day.
You too. God bless you, sir.
Okay.
Who's your next?
Let's see, Holmes is his. Who is that? Devalle?
Devillier. Kenneth Devillier. Kenneth Devillier.
Okay, this is cause number 325334. Case of style of state of Texas versus. Oh, that's no. Okay, this is cause number 329846. Case of style of state of Texas versus Kenneth Devalle. Mr. Devalle, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
How are you doing, Mr. Devalle?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Mr. Devalle, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Devalle, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Devalle, you may put your hand down. Mr. Devalle, you're here represented by your attorney John West. Attorney West, do you waive a record in Mr. Devalle's case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Devalle, I have before me a motion to revoke your probation that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office on June 3rd of 2022. In this motion, it alleges that you, J. Kenneth Devalle, on June 10th of 2021, was found guilty for the offense of theft, which was a Class A misdemeanor. Your punishment was assessed at 90 days confinement in Jefferson County Jail and a fine of $750. Your confinement was probated for a period of 18 months. The state motion to revoke probation has 5 allegations. State. Mr. Let me do this here. Oh, let me go off the record on this one.